Hello, dear listeners. Welcome to Semaphore Uncut, a podcast for developers about building great products. In this new episode, Darko, the podcast host, welcomes this .lab's co-founder and web developer, Tracy Lee. Tracy shares her insights on public speaking, community building, and the importance of staying adaptable in the ever-changing world of technology. I hope you enjoy this new episode, and let's dive in.
Hi, Tracy. Welcome to Semaphore Uncut podcast.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Great. Tracy, if you would just go ahead and introduce yourself.
I am the co-founder of a company called Labs. We are a agency focusing mainly on JavaScript, helping people build amazing applications. And we get to work on some really cool projects. Like we have some really fun clients like Meta, Cloudinary, Wikimedia, Twilio, Sentry, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, we just love helping solve tech problems. And who doesn't love solving problems? I feel like if you're a developer, like you're here because you actually like solving problems, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's the main line of the character, yes. I guess.
We even create problems so that we can solve them.
That's also correct. And that sometimes can be poisonous, but we do that.
Yes.
Great.
We have recently launched a CI/CD learning tool which shortcuts into everything you need to know to level up your CI/CD process and increase your productivity. Also, to ensure that all our customers get the best CI/CD guidance, we have improved our sign-up process. From now on, everyone who's considering using Semaphore will get personalized CI/CD expert guidance from day one. Our engineers have more than 10 years of experience, so you'll surely be in good hands. Check it out on our website, semaphoreCI.com.
Can you give us a bit of a background how you end up what you're doing? You had a company which you sold and then created a new company and all of that. So that would be amazing.
I grew up in the Silicon Valley, so I did a tech startup, and probably about almost 10 years ago, it was acquired. And while I was going through the acquisition, I got bored. And I was non-technical and kind of stumbled into JavaScript. This was back in 2015. So if you all remember, like ES 2015 was coming out and, there was this like new revolution of the web coming, lots of tooling available to us. So it was a great time to start web development because it seemed easy, right? And, I just totally fell in love with JavaScript and the ecosystem and the people and front-end development. So decided to start a company with some co-founders, one of them being one of my best friends, Ben Lesh, who created RxJS. I personally am on the RxJS team too, and I'm a Google developer expert, a Microsoft MVP, GitHub star. I just love development and love helping people solve problems. So team is of a team about 50 developers now. We are 100% remote and worldwide. And, it's just a fun place to be. I love it. And I love what we do.
And apart from being a developer, you also did a lot of work in, doing public speaking, and being out there in the open and people know you and so on. And that's something that a lot of developers, or maybe not a lot, but definitely some people would love to, get more of a public image, as a developer and all of that. However, it sometimes seems daunting to just start from, being completely anonymous on the internet. So I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
If you're a junior developer, and I think we all know some junior developers, right? Like you have no fear because you just don't know, right? And I think that's the best place to be because once you start knowing, then you start hesitating because you're like, is this smart enough? People think I'm a senior developer. So can I say this? Is it too junior? Should I have known this? There's just all this stuff that gets built up that I feel like isn't useful for you because it makes you not do anything, right? And I actually suffer from that right now, which is terrible. But I remember starting and just being so excited about the CLIs, and then when Angular 2 came out, same thing. Whoa, there's a CLI. This is the best thing. Why would I ever do anything? Same with Create React App, right? Like I just got so excited about these things. I remember when Angular came out with our first router, I was like, this router thing is so cool, you know, and I wrote about it because I was excited. I talked about it. In the beginning, I would like live code basically, oh, hey, you know, within 20 minutes, I can spin up 3 different apps and 3 different technologies. Look how easy this is. And I think that's really empowering. So I think getting back to that is really helpful and useful. I think starting, you know, I talk to a lot of creators because I do a podcast called Just Ship It as well, where, you know, I get to talk to people like Chris Coyer, who started CodePen, for example. And, you know, everybody, all creators are just trying to like solve their own problems in a sense, or solve problems that they see, things that they're passionate about. And I think starting from what you're passionate about versus what do other people care about is a good place to start. I remember my first speaking opportunity. I was 3 months into development, and one of my friends said, hey, do you want to speak at a conference? And I was thinking, what are you talking about? What do you mean? And he said, no, just like talk about what you learn, you know, what you've learned. So, you know, I talked about, you know, how to start an Ember application as a developer, as a beginner. And, you know, then I don't know, I think I got started being asked to speak at conferences, or maybe I started applying and getting accepted. So you just kind of start doing, you know. I still remember, I don't know if you all know Shruti Kapoor. She used to be at PayPal. Now she's at Slack. I think I asked her to speak or something. I don't remember how that happened, but I still remember taking a picture of like her first talk. And then all of a sudden she's everywhere. Honestly, it's just about taking the first step and finding those opportunities and just continuously going. It really significantly helps your career. So I mean, there's just so many stories like that, but that's what helped me. I think also just getting to know people, right? Like just getting involved. Like you're there, you might as well. You know, some people are the people who scroll through the internet and don't say anything. But like, if you're scrolling through the internet, you might as well give a like, you might as well give a comment, you might as well something just to let people know you're there, because that's where you start.
I know it was for me and a lot of my colleagues also. I have to be an expert on the topic. I have to be kind of the smartest person, maybe not smart, but I have to really have, you know, in-depth knowledge on something to be able to speak at the conference and all of that. And it's an amazing example, as you said, if you flip it around. No, I'm going to speak not because I'm the expert in this and I'm the best person potentially to speak with this, but I'm very, very excited about this. And that qualifies you to be able to speak about it and also make other people excited about it through, you know, sharing that excitement, which is very, very tied to those beginnings of the career.
And I think a lot of people, you know, because I give these talks, I'm like, this is the most amazing thing ever. And I know some senior developers are sitting there going like, how cute, you know?
Well, that's
but like,
fine.
yeah, but like at the same time, they were, you know, they're like, man, that excitement, like I want that back in my life, you know, because again, I feel like as you advance in your career, you get more jaded and more jaded, and seeing people excited about just the basic tooling is like, whoa, I should be this excited. What, you know, like why? And it's any topic really. I mean, I remember one of them that I was really excited about was material design. And when Angular Material came out, I tested every single component, figured out how every single component worked, and then wrote blog posts about how to use every single component and gave talks on it. But people were trying to use Material, and guess what? I was the only content out there. I wasn't an expert. I wasn't on the Angular Material team, but I was the only one that spent enough time like documenting how the heck to use these components that you weren't supposed to use yet.
Yeah, you were the first. Yeah, it's true, as you mentioned, that developer, that fictional developer, senior developer in the audience who said, "Oh, how cute," but that's also what I see in a lot of people who spend maybe, I don't know, couple of years, depending on the person, in some technology, some stack, you know, some domain. They are like, "Oh, I'm so not excited about this anymore." Yeah, which is a completely different topic. But I guess that, I mean, one of the ways to address that is also to go into something new and be that newbie again.
Or actually, one great way to solve that is just mentor junior developers. Because, you know, their excitement is contagious, right? And you're like, wow, you're having so much fun in this boring task that I have to do every single day. I guess I should find it a little bit more interesting, I mean, it serves for both people. It serves for the senior developer and for the junior developer. I think also just getting better as a developer. I've paired with so many senior developers in my past, and there's people who can explain what they're doing and people who can't. But I think great developers, if you just want to improve on your skill, and you feel like, let's say you've reached the top or whatever, try explaining what you're doing to somebody. And if you can't explain what you're doing to somebody, that is a great way to practice. I think that also is why giving talks, writing blog posts about how to use a specific technology. Again, you can be a great developer and not explain any of those things, but it's a good muscle to try to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to come back to speaking a little bit later, but we start exploring this area of being a developer who wants to get out there and all of that. And we dived deep into speaking, but there are other, venues that people can explore. Definitely mentoring is one of those. So what are some other ways that you have seen that work well for people except speaking?
I think you just have to, if you're trying to get out there as a developer, you just have to find something you're excited about. But I think just finding, your place, right? Like you talk to Adi Osmani, who just randomly builds their own browser. I don't know, but he'll say, hey, I also started with the documentation, right? And then somebody found me and thought saw my passion and wanted to shepherd and guide me. And that's how I got started, right? So you just, again, hear all these stories about people just doing what they love on the internet, whatever that may be, whether it's documentation, whether it's solving your own problem. For me, again, for blogging, I was just trying to document all the stuff that I needed to learn as a new developer, and I needed a reference guide. So I blogged about it and put it on the internet, and people cared, right? So it's you will find those types of things, but there's so many ways, again, to get integrated into the community. I think starting from what do I need to do to become popular is not the best way to approach it, but more what am I actually really excited about? Because if you do something just for a specific reason, it's not going to last. But if you do something because you're just really excited about it, it sticks and you'll enjoy your life better.
We have recently launched a CI/CD learning tool which shortcuts into everything you need to know to level up your CI/CD process and increase your productivity. Also, to ensure that all our customers get the best CI/CD guidance, we have improved our sign-up process. From now on, everyone who's considering using Semaphore will get personalized CI/CD expert guidance from day one. Our engineers have more than 10 years of experience, so you'll surely be in good hands. Check it out on our website, semaphoreCI.com.
And when it comes to speaking, it seems that it comes to you very naturally, and you never really hesitated, or But just a couple of weeks ago, I had a guest, May Besaron, and she's a developer, and she's moving into DevOps. She knew nothing about DevOps, and she was one thing that she tried to solve is being super anxious at interviews. And then she said, okay, I'm going to start speaking at conferences, because if I master that, then interviews will not be scary for me anymore. Which is a very, hardcore way to go about that problem, but definitely a way to solve that.
I did the same thing. I mean, when I, for example, I was I'm going to host a meetup with all these venture capitalists and startups. Many years and years ago, prior to me doing technology, right? And, I had to introduce this meetup that I was doing, and I would write it down on a piece of paper, print it out, recite it multiple times in the car, and then go and then read off of a piece of paper for a long time. And now, it's I'm keynoting a conference. There's some technical issues. Let's talk about sushi on stage. Who cares? So everybody has to start from somewhere. But who was telling me that? Corey House was telling me that too, that he didn't like speaking, so he decided to start speaking on stage.
Yeah, it's one of those ways to solve a problem.
Yeah. So you can keep doing what you're bad at or not be good at it. I mean, people don't just naturally end up the way they are. It's through practice, right?
In every technology, every online community, and so there is evolution. There is that initial, excitement, and how that community is initially formed. You kind of know everyone from the community by name, although you haven't met them, and that's all just fine. And then as community grows, communities tend to change their nature and how they operate and all of that. Can you maybe share some thoughts on that?
Yeah. I think it's just like anything, right? Like if you're joining communities, right, it's just like joining a team. If you're on a smaller team, you have a bigger impact. If you're on a bigger team, you have less of an impact, but there's like more little kind of silos for you to be effective, right? So, Node, for example, is a huge project. I mean, Node has the security working group, the release, it's called the releases team. But anyways, just tons of different working groups related to what's next in Node, security. I don't know what else. I don't know why security is coming to my mind right now. There's like community groups as well. And they all do their own little thing because nobody can work on everything at once, right? And obviously there's still the technical steering committee who kind of leads the technical aspect of it. But that's how you contribute in that type of organization, right? I think React is interesting because, in the beginning, I feel like everybody was kind of like looking for guidance or something from the React team. But the React team is like, no, we are just a library. And so what you've ended up with React is so many people filling the gaps of React because, there's not one library to serve them all, right? And I think actually that's been, the reason why the React ecosystem is the way it is. All of a sudden you have these frameworks that are built on top of React, and you have these tons of libraries, tons of tooling, tons of et cetera. And now the React community, funnily enough, which again, our community always goes in cycles, right? Like mono repo or not, microservices or not. Like, I don't know, let's wait 7 years and see what the opinion is.
Yes.
But with React, before, you think about, again, like 7 years ago, it was, well, it's just JavaScript. We don't want it to be opinionated. We love that it's just a library. And then now it's, oh, well, obviously you should be using a meta framework because who wants to deal with all the configuration? But the React community prior was, well, we hate Angular because it's giving us too many opinions. We don't want a happy path. We want to do it ourselves. And it's like, okay, well, now you do want a happy path. Okay, here we go. So I think, you stay in technology long enough and it's just, what's the trend? What's the trend these days?
Yeah, trend connected with that, what we have learned about those previous 7 years. And we change our opinion on this topic. And
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and that's completely fine.
Which is why we all have jobs, because it's like, okay, well, we spent 10 years migrating this. Hopefully it doesn't take you 10 years to migrate something, but we migrated this thing and now we spent 10 years on it. Now we want to migrate to a new technology. All right, here we go. 10 years later again. So developers will always have jobs because there's always this like migration to new technologies.
All of those, successful SaaS companies from, 2010s in those years are now 10 plus years old. They're all very successful, but the core application that they're working still is probably still that, gigantic monolith that is in there. And it suffers from so many, problems, but it is on the other hand, very, 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 very successful. So connects to some extent to that, migrating. So we just reached a certain point and now we are going to start changing something. And
yes. And 10 years later, monoliths will be cool again. Who knows?
Yeah.
Somewhere in the dark spaces of the internet, somebody's saying monoliths are the best thing ever.
And I have heard actually in a lot of companies, there are more, bad reasons for dropping out that monolith than good ones. But that element of hype, we all react to it. We all react to the hype. And we also all want to be part of that newest, coolest kid group crowd, whatever. And that's not easy to resist.
Yes, you have front end teams, you have back end teams, you have DevOps teams, right? And everybody kind of, I don't know, separates concerns that way. But a lot of the tooling that's coming out now is like, hey, you don't need a QA team, for example, right? You don't need a deployment team. And there's this idea that because, for example, let's say front-end developers or all developers push everything to QA, there's some idea that there's like not ownership in your code. So developers are expected to like do more testing, do their own QA, do their own deployments, blah, blah, blah. So do their own performance. It's, so there's a lot more expectations. But what I think is really great about that is there's just so many tools now that will do it for you. It's good and it's bad because I think some people will argue if you don't know how to do it internally, you don't know the internals of something, then you can't debug it. And how can you be a good developer? Versus now it's like, well, the tool is there. I'm doing my own deployments, but I'm also just clicking a button. So it doesn't matter, And
that's the pattern generally in the industry. I would say that abstraction layer is getting, higher and higher. And people who are joining the generally developer career today versus 15 years ago, expectations are different. More ownership, probably. Wider area. However, abstraction layer is higher, which is making it easier and harder at the same time, if that makes sense.
But it will be very interesting. Oh, like for me, I cannot, for the life of me, I love doing, building mobile applications, right? Like it's fun. It's fun until there's a bug, and it's fun until the bug is like not related to JavaScript. And I spend 4 hours trying to debug, whatever the Apple it's just, look, my app wasn't that big enough. I am just deleting it and restarting because I cannot deal with this. I just spent 4 hours. It just, I can't do it. Right. But that's the problem too, right? But again, it goes to say, how good do we need to be at X, Y, and Z? And then with the rise of AI, you think, okay, things are making things a lot easier for us. But at the same time, is it just going to be, old school developers who actually know what's going on? I don't know. What does that new future look like,
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
But a lot of opportunity. Lots of opportunity.
Definitely. And many unknown, avenues to discover.
Yes.
Yeah. For people that want to, learn more about you and follow you and also find your podcast, can you give us some pointers? What are the best places to find Tracy?
Yes, you can find me on Twitter at Lady Leet always. I do the Modern Web podcast, a podcast called Just Ship It. I'm really excited and passionate about engineering leadership these days. So I've been publishing a series weekly on engineering leadership. You can find that on LinkedIn or on the this.blog. We are hiring, so you can always go to thisdot.co. That's this.co to find out more information. Again, there's tons of information on our blog. And then, if you ever just want to chat, I'm always happy to talk. So let me know.
Great. Tracy, thank you much for this time. It was great chatting to you.
Thank you.
What a great conversation. We hope you enjoyed it and learned something new. Make sure to subscribe to Semaphore Uncut on your podcast player of choice so that you don't miss our new episodes. And stay tuned.